Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and my name is Piyush. This is video number 41 in the series CKA 2024. Video number 41, like it was supposed to be 40 days of Kubernetes, but this video will be served as the last minute preparation. This video should be referred once you have completed all the previous videos, once you have completed all the tasks given in the previous video, and then move ahead with this one. In this video, I will share many tips and tricks that will help you save a lot of time in the exam. I will share my exam preparation strategy as I cleared the certification recently again. And I will also share the sample task that I got in the exam, like whatever I could remember. So I will share all of those. I will share every single detail along with the GitHub repository, and you can refer that GitHub repository as well, and make sure you do the practice of whatever being shared. Make sure you go through all the documents that I will be sharing shortly, and I'm really sure this will be a helpful and valuable video from exam perspective and from the fundamentals of Kubernetes perspective. So the comments and like target of this video is gonna be 200 likes and 150 comments in the next 24 hours. Please try to do that, and please try to support. Please try to share this video as much as possible. And without any further ado, let's start with this video. Okay, so let's start with the, like I've already shared all the details in the GitHub repo in day 41 folder. So you can go through that, but let me walk you through it and let me explain the important steps that are part of it. So first thing you have to remember, this should be served as the last guide before you are appearing into the exam. Like, don't just rely on this. Make sure you complete all the tasks given from day 1 to day 40, and make sure you watch all the videos so that you get the clear understanding of all the concepts, all the important tasks that we have done as part of this series. So this is really important. And if you are someone who's already working with the Kubernetes for quite some time, then you can skip those and you can move ahead with this one, which is the last minute preparation and so on, right? So for the exam preparation, let's have a look at all these points. So first, before registering, make sure you look for discount available, right? So on the Linux Foundation website, they usually have 25 to 40% discount on these exams, and these offers come quite frequently. So make sure if it's not there, you should wait for it, and once it is there, you can avail that offer. So for example, if I check this out for today, today is what, 24th July. Let me go back to the home, and there should be some offer running currently as well. Okay, let's see. Linux Foundation. Okay, and yeah, over here you see it says a salute to sysadmin, save up to $400 on training and certification. So if I click enroll now, and you see there are some discount available. So for example, the power bundle CKA plus CKAD, it used to be $1,190. Now it is $790. So there is a discount of $400, which is a good amount. And like on other as well, there are a discount of $400, like these two certification bundle, and for CKA plus CKS, they also have $400 discount. So make sure you avail these type of discounts whenever it is there. Plus it has some raffle draw as well, which says there is a chance to win the prize, and here are the prizes. So yeah, check it out on the Linux Foundation website. There should always be something running as part of promotion. If not, just wait for some time and it will come. Okay, so let's go back to this. Okay, talk about the format of the exam. This is an online proctored exam. That means there'll be a proctor that will be watching you while you are giving the exam, and they'll be monitoring for any suspicious activity. So make sure you read all the do's and don'ts, and there is no need to visit an exam center for this. It will be an online exam. Right? Study material. Yes, make sure you follow this exam guide. It has the details like the exam format, task, and all the crucial details. Make sure just go through it. And I'm going to explain all the important parts over here, but make sure you go through that as well. Then we have the checklist. Make sure you complete the exam checklist beforehand and then schedule the exam. So checklist item includes few details such as verify your name, upload an ID, check your system requirement whether it is compatible with the PSI Chrome extension or not, get the candidate handbook and read the important instructions and so on. Yeah, so this is a small task that should be done within few minutes. So make sure you do that before the exam to avoid any last minute delay during the exam. Then we have the sample test. So once you register for the exam, they will provide you complimentary access to killer.sh platform. So killer.sh, which is, I believe it is, so this is the simulation environment that you will get, and it is similar to what you get in the exam, right? So make sure you go through that. Once you register for the exam, you will get two labs and there'll be timer associated with it, but you can reset the timer, and this particular simulated environment will give you the real feel of the exam. But the important thing to remember is these tasks given in this killer.sh practice test, this will be much harder than the actual exam. So if you feel like you are not able to complete the task or you are able to complete only few tasks, that's okay, because it was supposed to be harder than the exam, right? But it will give you a good feel about the exam. Now, if you want to practice more other than these two sample exams that will be given to you, you can go to killercoda.com, which is again a lab based environment, and it will provide you a free access to all those things, right? So you can go to CKA certification path over here, and there are various scenarios published. So there are different creators, and then you can go to either of those scenarios, and it will provision a cluster for you, and it will have some misconfiguration or there'll be a task for you to complete, and you can do that. So there are different tasks created for you already. Yeah, so you can take advantage of this as well. Okay, and but if you have followed the entire playlist and you have completed the task in each of the videos that's been provided on your local platform installation, that should be good enough, right? But there are certain tasks like troubleshooting or cluster failures and so on. So sometimes it needs more practice, and then you can use platforms like these. All right. Then we also have this exam rules and policies. So make sure you read that for all the do's and don'ts, uh, code of conduct, like what is allowed, what is not allowed, and so on. What will be there in the exam sandbox? Like there'll be a notepad in the exam cluster itself, so you can use that, and all other applications that will be there, it will be provided over here. Okay. Then you should also get yourself familiarized with the exam UI. Otherwise, you can waste few minutes in understanding the exam UI. So you can have a look at these screenshots, and it will give you idea. Like on the left side, there'll be a question, there'll be a task, and over here there'll be a remote desktop button. So you can change the tabs from here, and here is the button to end the exam. There'll be a readme file, and you can access the applications from that. And if you go over here, here's how you can open the terminal window by clicking on the application and terminal emulator. So it will be opened as a new tab, and if you want, you can open the Firefox as well when you have to access the Kubernetes documentation. So you open the Firefox and it will be appeared as a separate tab over here, right? So make sure you get yourself familiarized with these things and how you can make some changes, resizing the terminal by drag drop the borders and so on. So all the information is provided over here. Okay, so make sure you go through all these links, and then there is also a link for frequently asked question for CK exam, so go through that. Now this is for all the preparation and everything. Now let's say you have registered for the exam, you have gone through all of these, and now this is the exam day. So during exam, you have to remember these things, that you will be provided with a virtual machine running on Ubuntu. So currently it is running on Ubuntu latest 20.02 as of July 2024, but it will upgrade as soon as there is a new version available or a compatible Kubernetes version available. right? And as of July 24, 2024, the exam sandbox is running on the latest Kubernetes version, which is 1.30. Okay, so make sure you do all the practice in this particular version. Then, as I've said, the web browser is available to access within the exam sandbox, and access to these two domains are allowed: kubernetes.io/docs, kubernetes.io/blog, and all of its subdomains, right? So you can access those. Now, copy and pasting commands, YAMLs, and other details from the documentation to the exam terminal is allowed because they are opened in the same sandbox Ubuntu environment. But the important thing to remember is Control C plus Control V. It won't work as it is a Linux terminal because that's just the Windows shortcut. So in Linux, you need to use the Linux shortcut such as Control plus Shift plus C and Control plus Shift plus V to paste it. Or you can use the right click, copy and paste and so on. In other application on the remote desktop, which is also a Linux desktop, you can use Control C plus Control V, like within the environment, within the sandbox itself, but you will hardly use this. So make sure you get yourself familiarized with the Linux shortcuts, these important ones. So I gave the exam on 13th July this year, 2024, and I was able to clear it. I did that in 2020 as well, 4 years back, and I just wanted to recertify myself, so that I wanted to ensure that my playlist and all the content that I publish is up to the date with the latest curriculum, and there are no new surprises, right? So, and I had the certification voucher sponsored by my employer, so I didn't have any issues with that. That is why I cleared the exam. I gave the exam. Now, based on the exams, I will provide you my strategy, some quick tips and tricks, and the exam sample question that came into my exam, like whatever I could recall. Okay, so this is what I did. I tackled the easiest and quickest task first. So so tasks that require, running just a simple command. So those were the tasks that I completed first, and I bookmarked the rest for the later. Then I did the time consuming task, but straightforward, that I have already practiced or that I was already aware of. Tasks such as HCD backup and restore or cluster upgrade. So these tasks I did after this. And finally, I attempted the most complex or time intensive task, right? So that's the strategy I followed so that I could complete maximum tasks. And if you go ahead with like either of second or third, what will do? Let's say you are stuck in some task, um, you will keep on working on that. You will keep fixing the issue or troubleshooting the issue, and then you will lose your time. So I don't want to do that, and I won't suggest you to do that. So start with the quickest and easiest task, then move ahead with the complexity. And if the task is taking so much of time, just bookmark it as and move on to the next task. You can complete that later on as well if you get time. Okay, then there are some tips that I would like to share with you if you are going with the exam. So first is, utilize the pre-configured kubectl alias. So if you have seen in the entire playlist, I have used the K as the alias for kubectl. It is already configured in the exam sandbox. So you can just write k get nodes, k get pods, and it will translate it to kubectl commands, right? And there'll be bash auto completion also available. So what is bash auto completion? So if you go to kubernetes.io/docs, and let's say if you go to cheat sheet, quick reference, first one. So this command has already been completed. And what it will do, this command, and like there is a shorthand for this. So what it will do, whenever you type a command, it will auto complete by pressing the tab key. Okay, so let's say you typed kubectl get p or po, and if you press tab, then it will complete it with pods, or de, and then deployments. It will complete by pressing the tab key. So make sure you use that. It will save a lot of time. Okay, and this is also an important point because mostly you will be using vi editor to create the YAMLs, to update the YAMLs, to edit it, and so on. So make sure you get yourself familiarized with the VI editor shortcuts because it will save you a lot of time. So I have given some of the shortcuts that I have used in the video plus what I usually use. So it will make your life easy, trust me. Then when you start with any task, any question, so the first step that you will be taking is setting the right context. So it is really important to understand this because if you don't set the context, and let's say the context was set on the previous task, you won't be able to complete the task and you won't get awarded any points because you have done that task in another cluster, for example. Like, so make sure you avoid this mistake. This command is usually being provided before every question. So first step is to set the context using this command. So make sure you utilize that. Okay, make sure you copy that command and paste it in the terminal, switch the context, verify it, and then only start with the task. Okay, and to copy the command, click on any command given in the question and it will copy. So you can do that. For example, like over here, when we open the Killer Coda platform, okay, and let's say CKA. Oh no, no, not Killer Coda. I guess it was Killer in the Killer, because Killer is what's been provided as the almost same copy of the exam. So you see when there is a command or when there is a path that is provided in the exam task, if you click on that, it will copy it to the clipboard. So you see, if I hover the mouse, it will say copy. So that means you just have to click it and it will be copied to the clipboard, and then you can paste it in the terminal with Control Shift and V. Okay. Now, in many of the tasks, you will have to use elevated access. That means you have to log in as the root account. Let's say certain files which does not have permissions to access or to add it with the default user. So you will be using sudo -i and it will be given in the task itself. Like, use this command to get the elevated access or the privileged access to the cluster. Okay, you can use that. Then make sure you complete all the tasks within each questions, read twice and do once. So what I mean by that is there'll be multiple parts. We'll see that in the sample questions. So there'll be multiple parts of the question. Make sure you read everything carefully and do as per the instructions. Okay. Don't just assume anything from your side. Let's say if the question is provided, this user should have the read access. So don't assume that it would have the write access as well or the list access as well or any other access other than read. So do as per the exam instructions. Okay, and carefully exit the terminal. You don't press you don't do exit on the terminal when you are on your default user. Let's say you are logged in as a root user by sudo -i. So then you have to go back to the previous user. You just press exit once. You just enter the exit command and it will exit that root user to the default user. But don't do the exit on the default user. And it works the same way when you have to SSH into any node. To come back, you have to just exit once. So make sure you use this with cautious or terminal session will be killed. I believe you can start it, but try to avoid this mistake. Then prioritize kubectl commands over declarative commands. So what I mean by that, let's say you have to create a pod. So a pod can be created with just writing kubectl run pod hyphen image nginx or whatever, right? So it can be done by just writing a simple command. Try to do that instead of writing the entire YAML and then applying that YAML. So use the imperative command wherever possible. If you forget the command, then there'll be a this cheat sheet that's been provided to you, right? So you can look for the command over here and you can directly copy paste into the terminal window. There are a hell lot of commands. I guess it has all the commands that you need for the certification and mostly the commands that a Kubernetes admin would use, right? So make sure you use that. Even if you are not able to find it over there, which is hardly the case, then also you can use kubectl and then the name of command hyphen help, and it will provide you the syntax like on the Linux terminal itself. So there are different ways you can do that. Okay. Now let's start with the sample task that I got in the exam. So whatever I could remember. So there were 17 tasks for me to complete in 2 hours. right? And I remember 15 of those. So that is why I'm sharing it with you. Remember that this could be different from your exam, but just to give you an idea, make sure you practice these, and because the task will be similar to those and some of them will be exactly like those. Okay. So the first one is check the number of schedulable nodes excluding tainted nodes. That means it has no schedule taint, and write the number to a file. Okay. So when I said to read the exam question carefully, what I mean by that, over here, it has three parts. Okay. First is check the number of schedulable nodes. Okay. So you do kubectl get nodes and excluding the tainted nodes. So now we don't want the nodes that has taint of no schedule. So you need to exclude the result from that. And then you have to write it to a file. But what you have to write the number to a file, like how many nodes are there. Okay. So make sure you understand the entire question, make sure you understand all the parts of it, and then complete it. And when you write it to a file, make sure you cat the file and verify it once again. Now you can write this with the help of a Unix command, like you can do wc-l by piping the output to it and then redirecting it to a file, or you can write the number manually, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay. Now, the next question is scale the replica deployment to 4 replicas. A deployment will be given and you have to scale it to 4 replicas. Now, you can use kubectl edit deployment command, and then you just update the replicas from whatever it is to 4 and then save it um, in the VI editor, or you can directly use the imperative command kubectl scale deployment name of the deployment hyphen hyphen replicas equal to 4, and it will do the same. Just compare which you are more comfortable with and which saves you more time, right? So do with that. The next one was create a network policy that allow access from the nginx pod in the dev namespace to the redis pod in the test namespace, and they could provide a port as well, right? So you have to create the network policy for that. So if you have seen a network policy video in the task as well, there is a similar task. You can perform that and you can complete this one as well. Okay. Now the next one is perform HCD backup on the path this. Once that is done, restore the backup using the backup file given in this directory, right? So you have to first take the backup, HCD backup on this path. Remember all the CA cert, client cert, all the files we have to provide as the input parameter, including the endpoints, and then the path where we need to perform the backup. So this is the path and the file name, which ends with .db. And once that is done, you have to restore the backup using the backup file given in this path. So you are taking the backup of existing cluster to a different file, and you are restoring the backup to from a different file. So make sure you understand these parts as well. Okay. And yep, that's done. After that, it's a simple task, like there'll be a deployment given, and I have asked to expose the deployment as a node port service on port 8080. So you can easily do that. Now monitor the logs of a pod and look for this particular string error not found and redirect the message to a file. Again, you can use kubectl logs and pod name and then redirect, and then you have to use pipe grep that particular string and redirect it to a file, right? So this you can do that. uh, there are many Linux based commands involved. So that is why I said in the beginning, basic Unix commands, basic Linux administration is sort of prerequisite to this course. If you are not aware, it's okay, you can still do that. So grep is one of the most commonly used command in Unix. So you can simply look for a particular string in a line by piping the output to grep, and then look for that string. You can do that easily. I could have provided solution for all of these, but I'm just providing the hints and the directions so that you can attempt on your own, and you can always reach out to us in the Discord community if you are facing any issue. Right. Now the next is check for the pods that have label env equal to xyz and redirect the pod name with the highest CPU utilization to a file. Right. So there are different ways you can do that. First is you have to check the pod with the label this. So you can do kget pods hyphen L equal to this label, so that you will only get the pods with this label. And then you have to find the pod name with the highest CPU utilization. Okay. So you can grep, or you can use hyphen hyphen sort by with the CPU utilization. So you remember in the cubes advanced kubectl commands in video, I guess it was previous video day 40, we have seen the sort by argument to the kubectl command. So you can use that to sort the pods with the CPU utilization, and then you redirect it to a file. So read the question carefully. It says redirect the pod name. You don't have to redirect the entire output or the entire line. You just have to redirect the pod name to a file. So you can vi the file and add the pod name manually as well, or if you want to do that with the help of command, you can do that. So output matters, the way you have done doesn't matter much. Okay. Then you have to create a multi-container pod with the image as Redis for first container, as memcache for the second container, and you can name the container as the way you want. Okay, but make sure, like in the exam, you will be provided with the pod name as well. So create a multi-pod container with the name multi slash pod or something, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. Now edit a running pod that is already running and add the init container, okay, with busybox image, and then a command will also be given to you. Let's say a sleep for 10 seconds or something that do a cat on some certain files or so on. Like this is what you need to do. Now you will be provided with an unhealthy cluster with the worker node in not ready state. You have to fix the cluster by doing SSH into the worker node. So, and it has another part which says make sure the changes are permanent. Okay, so you have to SSH into the cluster, check the kubelet status, try to start it, try to check the errors using journal CTL logs, and see what the issues and try to fix it and start it. Once you start it, to make the changes permanent, you have to do systemctl daemon reload as well, right? Make sure you do that to make the changes permanent. Now the next is create a cluster role binding, and a service account. Cluster role should allow deployment services and daemon sets to be created in a namespace test. And then you have to do the cluster role binding with this cluster role to the service account, right? So make sure you understand this task, make sure you practice this task. Now mark the node unschedulable and move the traffic to other nodes. Okay. So unschedulable, that means you have to code on the node. Okay. And move the traffic to another node. So the traffic, the pods that is running on that particular node will be moved to another node. So drain will empty the node, evict all the pods from this node. But if you do cordon, it will evict the node as well as it will mark the node as unschedulable. So in that, you will face an error which says, use ignore daemon sets and ignore something else option as well. So try to read the error and use those parameters as well in the command. Again, it will work. Now create a pod and schedule it on node worker 01. Okay. So if you remember the video where we have looked into node selectors and how do we manually schedule the node pod on a particular node with the help of manual scheduling. So that's how you will complete this task. Now in the task 14, you have to create an ingress resource and you can check the task in day 33 folder. It has the similar instructions. So try to follow that and try to implement it. Now the last one is create a persistent volume with 1 GB capacity and mode as read write once and no storage class. So if even they don't, let's say they don't provide any storage class and they don't say anything about storage class or anything else. So don't just assume the storage class from your side, right? If it's not provided, that means you don't have to use that field. So just don't enter that field. Okay. And then create a persistent volume claim with 500 MB storage and mode as the same. It should be bounded with the PV because it matches with the storage mode, and the capacity is also under that. And then you have to create a pod that utilizes this PVC and mount it on a particular path, right? So that's what you can do the way I like told you, I did the easiest one first. For example, the first one, which just needs a kubectl command, then scale, which is also a kubectl command, and then I move to expose the deployment. Again, just one command. Monitor the logs, it is a simple task. Then check the logs, have labels, and multi-container pod, simple task. Then node, I guess, yeah, I guess this was the first one, and then this pod, schedule it on this node, and that's it. And then I move to the second part, which is the task that I know and that I have done before. For example, etcd backup and restore, and then added the multi-container pod, this one, init container, adding that, and node not ready, and then mark the node as unschedulable. This was also the first task. And then ingress resource, and then I did the rest of those. So I was able to complete 15 of those. I was somehow within the given time, because I faced some issues as well while doing it. So in that time I couldn't do the rest of the two completely. I started it, I attempted it, but I did not completed it. So yeah, that's what it is. So make sure you go through this entire doc, all the links that's been given to that, and make sure you do all the practice, all the instructions that's been provided to you. Make sure to follow that, and you should be good. So this was the last video in this series, but the series is not ended yet. Last series with respect to CKA certification and from Kubernetes fundamentals. After this video, we'll be adding a lot of real-time projects. We'll be adding many important topics to this series, and it will be an ongoing series, right? So the reason why I called it 40 days of Kubernetes, because in 40 days we completed the fundamentals, and in those 40 days we have prepared ourselves for CKA certification, and day 40 will be served as a bonus video or the last minute exam guide before you want to go for the certification. Okay, so that's it. That's it about the video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it valuable. If you did, please try to complete the comments and like targets of this video as you have done for the rest of the videos. Try to share with as many as people as you can, so that it could reach to the wider audience. And keep supporting, keep learning, and I will see you soon with the next video. Thank you so much. All the best for the exam if you are giving the exam after that. Do share your progress with me, and I would love to get your feedback on that. So thank you so much.